Hey, welcome. Today, we are going to get into something that, well, it affects every single one of us. Why is it that sometimes the stuff we want to buy just vanishes from the shelves?
Come on, you've totally been there, right? You pop into the store for that one brand of coffee you love, or maybe your favorite snack, and nothing. The shelf is totally bare. It's so frustrating. And the real reason behind it, it's actually way more fascinating than you might think. And it all starts in a pretty surprising place, with you.
Yeah, believe it or not, the entire journey to figuring out that empty shelf really does begin with the simple act of you deciding to buy something.
That's right. The second you scan an item at the checkout, you're not just buying a product. You're actually sending out this tiny electronic signal. And that signal, it travels from the store to a warehouse to a factory, and sometimes all the way to a farm or mine on the complete other side of the planet. You are the starting pistol for this entire race.
So, to follow that signal, we first need to get a handle on the engine that drives this whole global system. And that engine is a concept called demand.
Now, it's really important to get this. Demand isn't just a vague wish or a hope. No, it's the actual, concrete number of products that people like you and me are ready to buy right now. Everything you can think of, from factory schedules to shipping routes, is all designed to respond to this customer pull.
Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. Demand actually splits into two different types. When you decide, I'm going to buy a new smartphone, that's what we call independent demand. But for that company to sell you that phone, they have to plan for the dependent demand of all its individual parts. You know, the screen, the battery, the charger. You can't have one without the other. One directly causes the other.
So this whole system works pretty well most of the time, when demand is nice and stable. But when it gets unpredictable, things can get really chaotic really fast. And that chaos has a pretty cool name, the Bullwhip Effect.
Think of it like this. When you buy something, you create just a tiny little ripple in a pond. But as that ripple travels backwards, from the store to the warehouse to the factory, that little ripple can turn into a massive, unpredictable wave.
And that amplification, that is the Bullwhip Effect. A small, unexpected change in what we buy gets magnified, it gets distorted at every single step back up the chain. Let me show you exactly what I mean with an example.
Okay, so check this out. A store sells just 100 more shirts than they normally do. That's it, a tiny change. The retailer sees this and thinks, whoa, okay, better be safe, and orders 150. Then the distributor gets that bigger order and goes, maybe something's happening here, so they order 200. And finally, the manufacturer gets that 200 shirt order and decides to ramp up production to make 300, just in case this trend continues.
I mean, just look at this escalation. We started with a real, actual customer need for just 100 extra shirts. But by the time that signal reached the person making the fabric, it had tripled to an order for 300. That right there is the bullwhip effect in action.
So you're probably asking, what on earth causes this massive overreaction? And what does it actually mean for businesses and for you?
Well, it's really a mix of things. See, each part of the supply chain is kind of flying blind, trying to guess what's going to happen next with very limited info. They place these big batched orders to save a little money, they overreact to sales and promotions, and most importantly, they just can't see what the other parts of the chain are doing. The whole system is just full of blind spots.
And the fallout from this is huge. Businesses end up with higher costs for storing all this extra stuff they might not even need. But here's the real paradox. All this overordering can actually lead to, you guessed it, empty shelves. Because the system is so chaotic, one month there's way too much stuff, and the next there's nothing at all. And what's the end result? We go to the store and get frustrated.
So, is this chaos just something we have to live with? Is it inevitable? Not at all. There are actually some really powerful ways to manage or, to tame this bullwhip.
The antidote to all that uncertainty and those blind spots is simple: information. When every single part of the supply chain can see the real, actual demand from the end customer, they can stop guessing. They can start working together instead of just reacting to these wild, distorted signals from their immediate partner. So in the end, it all comes back to this one powerful idea. The absolute key is to focus on the true starting point, the real demand from us. By sharing data and actually working as a team, companies can cut through all that noise, reduce waste, and ultimately make sure the products you want are actually there when you go to buy them.
So,
The next time you're standing in an aisle staring at that frustrating empty space where your favorite pasta sauce should be, you'll know what might be going on behind the scenes. It's not just bad luck. It could very well be the echo of a bullwhip cracking its way all the way through the global supply chain. Something to think about, right? Thanks for joining me.